what the black man and woman needs to know about the nation, about the world, about themselves. Muhammad Speaks It. To order your 12-issue subscription to Muhammad Speaks newspaper, 313-371-7033. 313-371-7033.
Kareem Bean Pie is the grand champion of all bean pies. The rich flavor and smooth texture takes this pie to a whole new level of delicious. One bite and you'll understand why people all over the country call daily to order Kareem Bean Pie. 313-371-7033. That's 313-371-7033. Kareem Bean Pie.
This bean pie is delicious.
Muhammad Speaks presents Messenger Elijah Muhammad's Teachings by Minister Khalil Shabazz every Sunday from 2 to 3 p.m. at Muhammad's Temple of Islam, 12609 East McNichols Road in Detroit.
Brothers and sisters, we rise for prayer. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent, the Merciful, Soul Master's Day of Judgment in which we now live. Thee alone do we serve, and Thee alone seek for Thine help and aid. O Allah, please guide us on the right path, path of those upon whom Thou spell Thy favors, not on the path of those upon whom Thy wrath is brought down, nor those who go astray after they heard Thy teachings. Say He, Allah is one God. Allah is He of whom nothing is independent, but upon whom we all depend. He begetteth not, nor is He begotten, there is none like Him. And I bear witness that none served to be served, worship or praise besides Allah, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. And I bear witness that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is that true servant and last apostle. Ameen. We'd like to acknowledge the brothers and sisters that extended us the greetings of Assalamu alaikum. We have Brother Mustafa and Sister Sharice Ali from Ohio. We have Brother Jeffrey Shabazz from North Carolina. And we have Brother Samori Samad from New York. Oh yeah, I see him. Yes. I like to say in the name of Allah, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, and in the name of His last and greatest messenger, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, I'd like to greet the brothers and sisters with the Nation of Islam's greeting words, peace of Assalamu alaikum. Today we like to talk about Easter and a grave of ignorance. We got, this is Bus Stop Bishop. This is a video that he has that's supposed to be premiering later on today. It's called The Truth About Easter and Good Friday. So then on top of that, this is IUIC Los Angeles. It's called Easter Edition. It says, before you came into the truth, did you used to celebrate Easter? So this is what the messenger and the Holy Quran taught us about trying to put out the light of Allah with their mouth. Because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us about Easter. He taught us the truth about Easter. And after he taught us what he taught us, he said there is nothing left for another person to teach us. That's right. There's nothing left. So all these other people can do is try to put out the light of Allah with their mouth. So now Bus Stop Bishop is explaining to the black man the truth about Easter and Good Friday. Now before we get into what the messenger taught us about Easter, I want to start with a black man named Alex Haley. Because we want to talk about, from the academic black people, what they saw when they saw the messenger. Because Alex Haley is the one who helped Malcolm X put out the autobiography of Malcolm X. So he knew Malcolm X well. He also knew the messenger. So we want to look at the messenger when we talking about Easter. When we comparing what the messenger taught to what Bus Stop Bishop taught. Let's look at the messenger from a person who could see his works, who could see Malcolm X's works, who could see Martin Luther King's works. What did he feel about the message? This comes from January 1976, Black Scholar. This was a magazine. The person who interviewed Alex Haley, his name was Robert L. Allen, and he was the editor of Black Scholar. He says, looking back on Malcolm's work more than a decade after his assassination, what do you think will be his place in the history of the black struggle in this country? So his initial question had nothing to do with the message. He asking Alex Haley about Malcolm. Since Alex Haley helped Malcolm do the autobiography, since he knew Malcolm, he said, so what do you think that Malcolm's history will be in the black struggle? So this is what Alex Haley said. He says, I think just from my own limited, and it is limited, exposure to things, if I have to pick that single person who has been the most important figure for blacks in the black thrust from post-World War II, I would unequivocally pick Elijah Muhammad. This is very important for the black man to know. When you talking about knowing about Easter, Alex Haley lived during the generation that saw the change in the black man caused by the message. Us in this generation, all we see is those who trying to put out the light of Allah with their mouth. Yes, sir. But Alex Haley was around when we was nothing but Negroes, niggas, and colored boys. We wasn't even smart enough to even try to put out the light of Allah, because the light of Allah was still given to us. So Alex Haley said, speaking about Malcolm, if I was to pick one person out of all these black leaders we had since he said the post-World War II, that means since 1945, if I was to pick one person in the last 30 years that's the most important black man to the struggle of the black man in America, I pick unequivocally Elijah Muhammad. Yes, sir. Then he goes on to say, he says, because it was he, when you think about it, who held together and nursed that small organization from the 30s. Another point. He said he held together and nursed. That's some words. Held together and nursed. A mother nursed her baby. That's what he's talking about. This little organization. It was not Malcolm X. Not the one who we want to give credit to today. The one who we say he was ahead of his time. He said if it was one person, it would be unequivocally Elijah, because he was the one who held together and nursed that little small organization from the 30s. Yes, sir. Then he went on to say, he said when the nation began to emerge, it was like a lightning bolt in opening up the consciousness of black people. He said when the nation began to emerge, not when Malcolm X, but in the 30s when the nation began to emerge, it was him who held it together and nursed it. He nursed Malcolm X. He nursed Louis Farrakhan. He nursed Muhammad Ali. He nursed all them hundreds who came from the mud, whose tongue was tied, who was deaf, dumb, and blind. He nursed them. And he said that group was like a lightning bolt. What did the messenger teach us about lightning bolts? He said when the Son of Man comes from the east even unto the west, it will be like lightning. That's what the Bible said. It will be like lightning. This is what Alex Haley said about that little black nation of Islam that was nursed and held together by the message. Yes, it was like a lightning bolt that started out all of this black consciousness that you see today. So he goes on to say, he says, now interestingly enough, at the time it began to emerge with its highly publicized hate white image, which was very, very unpopular at the time, and certainly unpopular in the media, which in turn made it unpopular among millions of people. Another one of my favorite parts. It came out with that hate white man image. That was very, very unpopular among the black men. You wasn't teaching out in public talking about the truth about Easter. Because to teach the black man the truth about Easter, you got to teach him the truth about the white man. Right. And we was afraid of the white man. But little Elijah, he was the one who was labeled a hate teacher. He said that was unpopular among the black man. He says, now interestingly enough, at the time it began to emerge with this highly publicized hate white image, which was very, very unpopular at the time, and certainly unpopular in the media, which in turn made it unpopular among millions of people. That thinking was not by any means embraced by most blacks. Most blacks shrunk from it, fearing it. He said, but at the same time, it has started them thinking about something. You feared it. You was afraid of it. But the messenger told us about the truth. He said, just a little piece of it that you hear will cause you to change. That's how strong the truth is from Master Farad Muhammad. Yes, you ain't got to hear it all. Just a little bitty piece of it that you hear, that'll be your lightning bolt. It'll cause you to change. So Alex Haley goes on. He said it was the thing which began to open our consciousness away from this just blank psychic wall of just total fear of the structure in which we live. This old Alex Haley. Because he ain't just talking about what he saw the messengers teach and do for them black people. He said what it did for us. He including himself. Talking about the white man is the devil, then none of us agree with that. That was very, very unpopular. It turned millions of people away. But still, it caused us to start thinking about something. It caused us to stop being afraid of the white man. Then he goes on to say, he says, and I am saying these things clinically in the context of black America's development. He ain't talking about it from some media standpoint, from some emotional standpoint. He said clinically, talking about the black man's mental health, his knowledge of self, clinically, his love for self. That's what you talking about when you say clinical. You talking about the mind of the black man. So he goes on to say, he says, I would select Elijah Muhammad for the reason that he held together the organization which did this thing when it began to become publicized. He says, underneath him, I I would put Malcolm X and Dr. Martin Luther King on equal basis. Now, we ain't gonna go too much further than that. But he said when they asked him about Malcolm, he said, let me set the record straight. Because I met Malcolm. I sit and listen to him talk for hours about his life. Because nowadays what we want to say about Malcolm is talk about his parents. Because we want to put out the light of Allah with our mouth. We don't want to give the messenger credit for nothing he did. So instead of us talking about how Malcolm changed when he met the messenger, we want to say, well, Malcolm X's parents was in Marcus Garvey's movement. So he already had that spark in his mind. It wasn't Elijah Muhammad. When he got to prison, they named somebody who supposedly turned Malcolm X on to reading the dictionary and reading this and this and that. We try to do all we can to take the focus off the message. But Alex Haley say, I knew Malcolm and I knew Elijah Muhammad. I can't say nothing about how Malcolm's history will affect the black struggle. But one thing I do know, if I could pick one person, not a group, just one person, unequivocally it'll be Elijah Muhammad. Then before we get into this Easter speech, as we used to say, this is the February 14th, 1973 progress section. This became one of my most favorite progress section pages when I first saw it. This is the messenger. We see at the bottom, the messenger says, of all the teachings God gave to Messenger Muhammad, one of his greatest gifts was the secret of how to unify and a disunified people. This is what the messenger said. That was one of the gifts that Allah gave to him, was the secret of how to unify a disunified people. Yes, sir. Because when we talking about Easter, we can't just separate Easter from all of what the messenger taught. This is what we try to do. Under this hypocrite Louis Eugene, we always got to talk about him. Because he has a lecture called Obey Allah and His Messenger. This lecture came out in 1974. I be having to go back to that old Islam to give me some kind of fire, some kind of inspiration. Because I don't get nothing from listening to this new school Nation of Islam in our generation. So I got to go to that Old Testament Louis. Old Testament Louis. And Obey Allah and His Messenger. He was over the rostrum celebrating whooping heads. I had to go back. He talked about black people who try to put out the light of Allah with their mouth. That was back when you would get your head whooped for trying to put out the messenger's light. He wasn't only just talking about it, he was celebrating. That's why I like them. They didn't just say it like it was some chore. They celebrated talking about your head will get beat to the white meat. Then when you go listen to him talking, go listen to the applause he was getting. It wasn't like he was in there talking to a couple brothers. You heard a crowd roaring like, oh yeah. While they celebrating how they whooping your head for trying to put out the light of Allah. This is my favorite part of the lecture. He talked about the one who really opposes the messenger is the white man. But he said, I know the white man ain't gonna do nothing. He gonna pay a black man to do. He said, why don't you take the money if you think you can pull it off. Because he was talking about how the white man hated him because he used to stay on their case. He used to always be fighting the white man for the message. So he started talking about black people trying to put out the light of Allah with their mouth. He was saying how they get so angry, so hateful of the messenger that they will actually try to kill you. So he said, why don't you take the money if you think you can pull it off? He said, because when we see you, we will force your hand. He said to all those who come to kill, he said, I want you to remember this. He said, you are born to die. All those who come to Muhammad's temple to kill, you were born to die. He said, because we got Muslims in here who love death like you love life. Roaring applause. There's brothers in here who love death. I ain't never heard no black man say that in my life. It's brothers in here who love death like you love. That's letting you. If that ain't saying it, what else is? They love death. They looking to die. And when you see them fights them brothers had, you can see he was not playing. But let's get into the message. This is the messenger's teaching on Easter. This comes from the April 14th, 1967, Muhammad Speaks. It says, explains at Miami Mosque the truth about Easter as taught by a messenger. It says the truth about Easter as taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was the subject of a fiery lesson delivered by Minister Troy Bay before a record crowd Easter Sunday at Muhammad's Mosque number 29 here. He says the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has shown that Jesus was a black man instead of a white man and was a prophet instead of God. That's number one when you're talking about Easter. Messenger is the one who taught us that Jesus was a black man. Because Bus Stop Bishop today act like he the one who teaching the black man that Jesus was a black man. So we get Easter from the messenger's teachings. First thing we gotta know, Jesus a black man. Second thing we gotta know, Jesus was a prophet and he was not God. Then he goes on to say, it says he pointed out that Easter is paganism at its very foundation, and that the resurrection of the black man is the true meaning behind the story of Jesus being raised from the dead. That's fact number two. We got to know, first of all, that Jesus was a prophet. He was not God. Then we got to know that that story in the Bible that's talking about him is a story about him. It's not no history. It's a story about Jesus. And in that story, the resurrection is talking about the black man. That's right. Go on even further than that. It says his crucifixion symbolizes a nation of people nailed to the cross. The intrepid minister said. So that's number three. The crucifixion represents the whole nation of black people. That's what it's talking about. Because when we do like Bus Stop Bishop and see what the Bible says, because that's what Bus Stop Bishop and them fakes be doing when they on the side. This is what the Bible says. The Bible says. What do the Bible say about Jesus? When we go to Acts, chapter 5, verse 30, it says, the God of our fathers raised up Jesus, whom ye slew and hanged on a tree. That's what the Bible says. So which one is it? Did Jesus get crucified or was he hanged from a tree? It's a completely different thing to say he was crucified than comparing him to being hung on the tree. Because when the white man lynched the black man, it's clear that we wasn't being crucified. We was being hung from a tree. Because being crucified and being hung from a tree is two different things. So then we can go to Acts chapter 10, verse 39. It says, and we are witnesses of all things, which he did both in the land of the Jews and Jerusalem, whom they slew and hanged on a tree. Once again, he going even further with this hanged on a tree. First, Paul just said, look, Jesus was hanged on a tree. Now he talking about we witnessed Jesus because we witnessed all things. And we saw what he did in Jerusalem and we saw what he did among the Jews. He was slew and hanged on a tree. So which one is it? When the Bible is talking about Jesus being crucified, what is it talking about? Is it talking about Jesus of 2,000 years ago? Is it talking about a symbolic Jesus? That's the question. This is what God came and taught his message. That's why the Holy Quran says they try to put out the light of Allah with their mouth. These are the hypocrites and disbelievers of God's message. They don't like the messenger. They don't like the fact that God chose him, even though he's been dead for 50 years. Bus stop bishop hate the messenger. Yes, sir. Those of us who love the messenger hate bus stop.
That's right.
I be wanting bus stop to know that so bad. It's just like how when you watching a movie, sometimes the brother's best friend could kill him. The best friend think he got away. But he don't know his son was under the bed and saw him kill his father. Sometimes that son gotta wait his whole life just to get the man who killed his dad. That's how I feel about bus stop. I don't know how Allah gonna destroy him. But all I want to say is, we gonna get you. We gon' get you.
Yes, sir.
That fake think because he got all them brothers with him, he think that's gonna save him. But the messenger got sons who see all y'all trying to kill him. And even though we can't get you now, we gon' get you. Another example that I like, it's the movie called Stand By Me. It was this bully. They called him Ace. Everybody was afraid of Ace. At the end of the movie, Ace pulled out his knife. He acted like he was gonna cut one of them. So one of them youngins pulled out a gun and shot it in the air. Ace was afraid because Ace wasn't used to being challenged. So you can see it on Ace's face. He was afraid. But he had one more thing to make him feel strong. He had his boys with him. So he looked at the little boy with the gun. He said, what you gonna do, kid? Shoot us all? He pointed that gun at Ace and said, no, Ace, just you. Just you. That's how I feel about bus stop.
Yes, sir.
I don't care nothing about all them he got. If it be the will of Allah, just you.
Yes, sir.
We gonna get you with the help of Allah. I'm not saying I'm predicting nothing because I don't know how Allah gonna get him. But if he let us, we gonna get you.
Yes, sir.
So let's keep on going. The messenger is the one who told us about Jesus and the resurrection. When it talks about Jesus being crucified, it's not talking about a Jesus of 2,000 years ago. It's talking about the black nation. So it goes on to say, it says the crown of thorns represent destruction of the mind of the black man, robbing him of the knowledge of self. Yes, sir. Let's go on even further than that. Let's talk about how the Bible say about Lazarus. Because the Bible talks about Lazarus. It say Lazarus was dead for 4 days. Martha and all the women came and got Jesus. They said Lazarus gonna be resurrected on the resurrection day. So is it talking about a Lazarus of 2,000 years ago, or is it talking about the black man? Just like the crucifixion, it says the crown of thorns is talking about the black man's destruction of his mind. He was robbed of the knowledge of self. In the story of Lazarus, it said he had a napkin over his eyes, his hands and his feet were bound, and he had on grave clothes. Because in that story, it's talking about the black nation.
Yes, sir.
It's not talking about no Lazarus that lived 2,000 years ago. But these fakes who hate the message, they hate that God chose the message. They do what all other fakes do. All they can do is take Jesus and make him black. Take the prophets, make them black. So Bus Stop Bishop is only attracting more niggas like himself. The jealous nigga. The nigga that was in the church that was jealous of the message. Jealous of the Nation of Islam. But you had Muslims with the message who celebrated whooping heads. So if you was a jealous nigga, you was a quiet jealous nigga.
Yes, sir.
You was a jealous nigga that poked your mouth out but you ain't do nothing. You was just a scared little jealous nigga. Messenger Muslims let jealous niggas know what could happen to you. You would get your jealous nigga head whooped. Now we got this hypocrite, Louis Eugene. He let the messenger be slandered by little jealous niggas.
Yes.
This is this hypocrite. Messenger is the one who told us about the secrets of the Bible. He told us that the Bible had been so fixed up by the white man that God had to come. That's what we got to understand. We got to bring it all the way home. God came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, July 4th, 1930.
Yes, sir.
He came to a bunch of scared, coward black men. We was afraid. We was afraid of the white man. So that fear would cause us to reject the truth. So Master Farad Muhammad couldn't just teach us the truth and leave us alone. He had to choose a message.
Yes.
That's what he had to do. Master Farad Muhammad came July 4th, 1930. He didn't become acquainted with the messenger till 1931. He couldn't just give us the truth. We was afraid. So he raised up a messenger. He taught that messenger how to break that chain of fear that the black man had around his mind, around his ankles, and around his arms. It was the message. You see in the cartoon, it got Muhammad's arm. It got Muhammad breaking the chain of fear. Then he gives us the Bible verse. It's Revelations 21:8. It says, but the fearful and unbelieving and the admirable and murderers and whoremongers and sorcerers and idolaters and all liars shall have their part in the lake of fire which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. This is the teachings of the messenger. The first death is being mentally dead. The second death is a physical death.
Yes, sir.
So the messenger is the one who told us if you're afraid of the white man, it's just as much as you are idolater. Just as much as you a murderer. Just as much as you a liar. You gonna get pushed alive in the lake of fire.
Yes, sir.
This what Master Farad Muhammad raised up a messenger to teach us. Messenger told us that fear will also cause you to go to hell. It ain't just you cleaning yourself up. It ain't just you eating right. It's that fear that the black man has of the white man.
Yes, sir.
This is what Master Farad Muhammad knew. He knew he was afraid. He knew the black man. So he knew he had to choose a messenger. He had to choose a messenger, and he had to teach that messenger for 3.5 years. Night and day. Then after he left the messenger, he still had to try the messenger. This is why back in the day, they used to whoop heads for those who try to put... The messenger sacrificed life and live.
Yes.
He wasn't just somebody who, Master Farad, I'm going to just teach him and leave. No, I got to try him. Even got to try the messenger. Even got to show the world what the messenger is made of.
Yes.
So that the world can know about my choice. He didn't choose that hypocrite Louis Eugene. He chose the messenger.
That's right.
He the one he chose. He taught us how to be Muslims. He said that fear of the white man will cause you to go to hell.
Yes, sir.
The fear we got to bust our vision cause you to go to hell. Messenger told us about the Holy Quran and how it says they try to put out the light of Allah with their mouth. He didn't just teach us these teachings and leave. He taught us how to be Muslim. So let's go on even further. It says the nailed hands rendered him unable to do for self. Another fact. Jesus was nailed to the cross. Not Jesus of 2,000 years ago. The black man.
Yes, sir.
The black man was nailed to the cross. His hands is nailed to the cross. That makes the black man unable to do for self.
Yes, sir.
Just like in the story of Lazarus. His hands and his feet were bound. And he had on grave clothes. He was unable to do for self. So it goes on to say, it says, and the nailed feet left him unable to walk in the path of righteousness. Another fact. Not talking about Jesus of 2,000 years ago, but it's talking about the black man. His feet was nailed to the cross, which causes him to be wicked and evil.
That's right.
Just like the white race. He was wicked and evil and he couldn't even walk in the path of righteousness.
Yes, sir.
Read due to Allah. Because old no good bus stop, who don't know nothing about spiritual wisdom, don't know nothing about that God knowledge, he read Deuteronomy 28. And because Deuteronomy 28 fits the black man so well, he run with it. He tell the black man, you were cursed by God because you didn't follow the law. So God cursed us and made us slaves. God cursed us that we wouldn't be able to buy and sell. That's why the messenger said Christianity is a slave-making religion. The black man was never cursed. Never. The black man is a direct descendant of God himself. But the messenger told us that a scientist named Yaqub crafted the white race, and Yaqub made a deal with Allah. Allah gave Yaqub 6,000 years to rule.
Yes.
That's why the black man is in this condition.
Yes.
It ain't got nothing to do with a curse. We was never cursed. Messenger taught us in our lessons. He said that the white race, after 35 to 50 years of studying the black man, learning how to do and act, then he could be called a Muslim son. Learning the ways of the black man, because we are righteous by nature.
Yes, sir.
So when the white man learns how to do right, he learns how to do and act like the original man. Original man has no sin in him. We are righteous by nature. So the messenger goes on, or the brother Troy goes on. He said he was hanged to the white man's cross of Christianity, begging for water or truth, and giving a sponge of vinegar, venom, vicious lies, etc. He says the story of Easter, Minister Bay continues, symbolizes black people, whipped, dragged, and crying in the wilderness. My God, why hast thou forsaken me? That's the black man. We've been in this condition so long, we would think Allah has forsaken us, just like Jesus felt. My God, why hast thou forsaken me? But Allah did not forsake Jesus. Jesus' life was a sign. It was a sign of the black man. It wasn't a sign of Prophet Muhammad. Because it's another sign in the Bible. It says that Allah will raise up a man like Moses. Everybody try to make that somebody other than the messenger. The Orthodox Muslims try to make it Prophet Muhammad. But in our wants and belief, it says no other people fits this description. Prophet Muhammad don't fit the description of Moses. Neither did Jesus. One of the main characteristics, Moses was among his people when they was enslaved by Pharaoh. They was enslaved by Pharaoh for 400 years. The Jews during the time of Jesus wasn't enslaved by the Romans. The messenger said their Arabs, they wasn't dead. They wasn't the people who was enslaved. He said they just went astray. They had superstitions and wild beliefs, but they wasn't dead. The black man is dead.
Yes, sir.
So one that met God, who spoke to God face to face, and is teaching us straight from God's mouth. That's Moses. That's a prophecy of the messenger.
Yes, sir.
All of it is talking about Elijah. So let's go on even further than that. So when the messenger taught us about Easter, he told us about the crucifixion. He will have cartoons in the Muhammad Speaks. It says Islam dignifies, Christianity crucifies.
Right.
That was the message. After he told us how Christianity crucifies, he told us about Islam. Islam dignifies the black man.
Yes.
So he has another cartoon. This is a cartoon of black people being dead, drinking and smoking and acting a fool. One group goes into a church. Another group goes into the mosque. The ones who go to the mosque get cleaned up. The ones who go to the church come out the same way. Because Islam dignifies. Christianity crucified. So they still hanging on the cross. They still got a crown of thorns on their head. Their hands and their feet is nailed to the cross. It's nailed to the white man's Christianity.
Yes, sir.
So it caused them to continue to be dead.
Praise be to Allah.
So the messenger goes on. This is a picture of a black Jesus. This is what old no good bus stop do. He's a dumb. He's a nigga. That's what he is. A dumb nigga. So being a dumb nigga, all he can do is what dumb, coward, jealous niggas do. I'm just gonna take it and make it black. While he telling sisters it's okay to commit oral solid. That's what dumb niggas do. You really don't have no divine guidance at all. You just a dumb nigga.
Yes, sir.
You a dumb nigga who is you being fruitful during the time of a hypocrite. Louis Eugene.
Yep.
Louis Eugene, that's why when I read or I watch Bus Stop Bishop, the hate that I have for Louis grows more and more every week. Because the messenger and message, I was meaning to bring it, but I forgot. The messenger and the message to the black man. He taught us about hypocrites.
Yes.
He taught us how he prayed for hypocrites. It's three things that the messenger said he wished Allah would do to a hypocrite. One of those things, he said he wished the chastisement of Allah on a hypocrite. He said he wished terror on a hypocrite. And he wishes grief. Those were the three things that the messenger said he prayed to Allah for the hypocrites that was alive and well at that time. He wished for them chastisement. He wished for them terror of Allah night and day. And he talked about grief. That's what those of us who believe wish for this hypocrite.
That's right.
We wish Allah terrorized this hypocrite. Because we see that if he wasn't a hypocrite, we weren't even going to say if he wasn't a hypocrite, because he's supposed to be what he is. He a hypocrite. But we see him in the way. With all them brothers he got. If he wasn't in the way, we'd be able to do the Bus Stop Bishop what he wishing to do to the message.
That's right.
We'll be able to destroy him.
Yes.
But since this hypocrite is in the way, messengers say hypocrites build mosques as a shelter for the hypocrites and disbelievers. That's what this hypocrite do. He in the way. He built a shelter for old Bus Stop Bishop. He built a shelter so people can think Bus Stop Bishop teaching some wisdom. But the messenger said, after me comes the executors. He said, they don't come to teach you nothing. They just come to execute the law on all those who didn't accept the message.
Yes, sir.
So when you got Bus Stop, because when Bus Stop making Jesus black, that's why I like to read the Muhammad Speaks. He just a dumb nigga who doing what dumb niggas used to do with the messenger. They couldn't fully take the teachings of the messenger like Bus Stop. But they couldn't do nothing more with the teachings than Bus Stop do. So they used to make Jesus black. Let's go to the January 10th, 1969, Muhammad Speaks. This is by Nathaniel Muhammad, the messenger's son. He says Easter and Christmas are two of the lies that have kept and are keeping us oppressed. He goes on to say, he says all that is taking place by actions such as these is the changing of this day, celebrated as Christmas, from a white lie to a black lie. See, they used to call out weak, coward niggas thing. We don't say nothing today. He said, all you do, when you taking Jesus and you taking a white lie and just making it black. You don't change nothing about Jesus by making him black. You still believing in the same lie the white man taught. That's why he's a dumb nigga. Talking about you, Israel united in Christ. What Christ? If you was united in Christ, you would be following the message. Right. Ain't no Israel united in Christ following some Christ of 2,000 years ago. No, Christ existed 2,000 years ago. Christ was born in 1877. So he said, all that is taking place by actions such as these is changing of this day, celebrated as Christmas, from a white lie to a black lie. So if events following their course of projection, we can look forward to a black Jesus for Easter. That's all you do. You still believe in all the spookism. You don't understand the symbolic language. You still praying to Jesus like he can hear. Only thing you doing is making a white lie and turning it black. Now let's go on even further than that. Because this is one of my favorite parts. This comes from the February 6, 1970, Muhammad Speaks. Because we talked about how Farrakhan celebrated whooping heads. Let's go to the prison and talk about how they used to celebrate whooping a head. This says Muslim mosque in San Quentin. Just for a quick side note, when we talk about the FOI, this is where the FOI was born. In prison. It wasn't born with them Ben X brothers that this hypocrite Louis Eugene be putting out in front of these Israelites. It wasn't with Rizza Islam and Wesley Muhammad. The FOI that we know and love, that we brag about, that we look at in amazement, was made in San Quentin, made in Sing Sing, made in Rikers Island. Because the messenger said it's something all of us can do with Islam. Some of us can be ministers. Some of us good at being captains. Some of us good at some brothers just good at whooping heads. That's the only thing you good at, is when it's time for a head to get whooped. Where brother fight next at? Tell brother, get the brothers you be hanging with, because we got a problem, brother, fight next. That was the message. He said it take all kinds. It don't just take a brother that can speak like Malcolm. It take brothers who can whoop a head.
That's right.
That's all you join the temple for. I want to whoop a head. Go join Muhammad. That's how it is.
Yes, sir.
Some people join because they want to be a minister. That's okay. Come on. We need ministers. We just got to teach you how to be a minister. You want to come join Muhammad because you like to fight. That's the way you get cheered. Come on. We'll just show you when to fight and how. But we need them kind too.
That's right.
So the messenger needed head busters. Say, let me go put a temple in the prison. I ain't going to even wait for them to come. I'm going to take the temple and bring it to them. They already ready when they get out on parole. That's why I bring this. If I didn't bring it, people wouldn't believe. So this is the Muslim mosque in San Quentin. It says for well over 39 years, Messenger Muhammad has been teaching the black people of America the resurrection of the dead and their deliverance from the hands of the wicked oppressors by their God, Allah Master Farad Muhammad.
Yes, sir.
That's number one. To the prison brother. So when he look at Bus Stop Bishop, and he talking about Easter, when I was in the joint, they said that it was Master Farad Muhammad. He ain't talking about Master Farad Muhammad. So he's saying something different than the messenger said. Right when I'm on parole, I ain't got to come to the mosque and learn it. I already knew it when I get out.
Right.
So when I get on the street, I see Bus Stop. Fresh out of the county. Fresh out of Sing Sing. Love the messenger already. Let's go on even further. It says the dynamic, spectacular leadership in Sing Sing. Ain't even hit the streets yet and I already believe the messenger a dynamic leader. So when I see Bus Stop, I don't think he dynamic. I think the messenger dynamic. Right when I'm on parole. It said the dynamic, spectacular leadership of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad in leading the dead, lifeless people out of the grave of ignorance into an ever-illuminating light of truth gives proof to the fact that he is truly a man sent to us by Allah.
Yes, sir.
I know all this on parole. I know all this after I done cleaned myself up in the prison. I was in the prison loving the message. Didn't nobody care nothing about me but the message.
Yes.
I saw him send lawyers so that we would have respect from the war. Where he couldn't feed us pork. He had to respect us practicing Ramadan in December. He had to send a Muslim minister. That's what the messenger did for me. And I know all that when I get out on parole. That was the message. So it goes on to say, it says the meteoric rise of Messenger Muhammad and his followers from a people in the mud of civilization to the most industrious people on earth can only be compared to that of the rise of Musa or Moses and the people of Israel.
Yes, sir.
So I know that the people of Israel is only an example of the message. So when I get out on parole, I'm on fire. I love the messenger. I know God sent him. I know he told us Israel is only an example of what he doing. So what's going to happen when I see Bus Stop? When I see him talking about Israel united in Christ, I see him taking the same thing the messenger taught, styling it in some Jewish way and making himself the black man thinking he's something special. What I'm about to do if I just got out on parole. That's how hey, I just told him the truth.
Yes, sir.
That's what I don't teach hate. I just teach the truth. I don't tell these brothers to do nothing. Do what you want to do. Oh, the message said, I ain't telling it. Do what you want to do.
That's right.
I taught you the truth. Do what you want to do. That's the message.
Yes, sir.
He said, then it goes on to say, it says many people, the natural enemies of Allah and his people and the disbelievers and hypocrites in prison. I come out on the street. I know messenger got enemies. I know he got people who hate him. I know what a hypocrite is. I know what a disbeliever is. Right when I get out on parole. Then I heard the messenger say, do what you want to do. That was the messenger. So he can't take responsibility for nothing. All he taking responsibility for is I give them a clear interpretation of the truth. After that, I like how the messenger said, do what you want to do. I ain't tell him to whoop his head. Tell him no, do what you want to do. So it goes on to say, it says many people, the natural enemies of Allah and his people and the disbelievers and hypocrites are envious of the works of Muhammad and his followers and seek to oppose them in their God-sent or in their God-designed work. This what the messenger telling prison brothers. So they know it's going to be some brothers who going to be envious of the messenger, who going to be acting like God chose them. This the messenger teaching the brothers in prison. So when they get out, they already ready. Messenger got FOI in the temple. He got them everywhere. And all he telling them is after I teach them, do what you want to do. Why do I like that so much? Do what you want to do. Because after you do what you want to do, when the consequences come, you can't blame nobody. If you want to bust his head, I ain't tell him to bust his head. But if he do bust his head, if that's what he want to do, then when the consequences come, he ain't going to be looking at me. I ain't tell you to do that. I just teach you the truth.
That's right.
Give you a clear understanding of a hypocrite.
Right.
Clear understanding of a disbeliever and those who envious of me. After that, do what you want to do, brother, from San Quentin. Do what you want to do. Whatever come in your heart, do what you want to do. I want to give it to you up close and personal. I want to show you how much a hypocrite Lewis is.
Yes.
Because I don't want to die before the Nation of Islam get back to how it was.
Yes, sir.
Now I don't want to die
Yes.
with the nation in this condition. That's why I bring the facts. A lot of these weak card brothers don't like it. One thing they can't say I'm doing is lying. We ain't even got to the good part yet. It goes on to say, it says many people, the natural enemies of Allah and his people, and the disbelievers and hypocrites, are envious of the works of Muhammad and his followers, and seek to oppose them in their God-designed work. But as we have taught, their evil design against God and his people will only come to naught. Followers of the messenger of the Lord of all the worlds are set before you as an example and a sign. That's the prison brothers. They ain't gonna do nothing but come to naught. He ain't said nothing about the old my black brother, you get out and try to unite. No. Them ones who oppose me. I'm sent by God. God chose me. Everything I'm doing for you and teaching you, he told me to do. So when you see these hypocrites and these envious ones, they against that same God who told me to go into the prison and help you, who told me to get this warden to respect you, to where you can tell the warden, I don't eat pork. I want a Muslim minister to come. I want to have meats. You free to do that because of the God I'm teaching you about.
That's right.
That was the message. And it goes on to say, it says, an example to black people of America as to what they can accomplish if, not just what you can accomplish when you steal the messenger's teachings and try to make yourself something. We're an example of the messenger for the black man. If, remember that, if only they unite and follow the divine leadership of Messenger Muhammad.
Yes, sir.
He was giving it to him straight in San Quentin. This nigga who hate me, this nigga who out here making you think he God sent, the only way that you can be an example for him is if he decides to follow the message. If and only if. Let's go on even further than that. It said, and a sign to the wicked. Now we about to get into the good part. We assign for the black man who wish to follow the message. We also assign for the wicked. We assign for the jealous nigga. The one who think you gonna attack the message. We assign for you too. What kind of sign are they for them? It says a sign to the wicked that oppose Allah and his people, that the end of their wicked rule of Allah's people is up. For as it is prophesied in the scriptures, St. Luke 20 and 17 and 18, and he beheld them and said, what is this thing that is written? The stone which the builders rejected, the same is become the head of the corner. Whosoever shall fall upon that stone shall be broken. But on whosoever it shall fall, it will be ground into powder. Giving it to you straight.
Yes, sir.
That's the sign we is to niggas like bus stop.
Yes, sir.
If this nigga fall on that rock, it's gonna break him. But if that rock fall on this nigga, we gon' grind this nigga into dust. That's why you ain't have bus stop bishops till the hypocrites come. Oh, Lewis. You ain't have bus stops with the message. Messenger had an army of FOI.
Yes, sir.
He said, make all men and boys. Brother in the prison, all men and boys. Not only was the messenger in the prison, messenger got junior FOI class for the baby brother. Teaching the baby brother. We got niggas out here. We got jealous niggas. We got envious niggas. But when you look at me, messenger give it to you in the scriptures. I am that stone that all the builders have rejected. But when they reject that stone, if they fall on it, they will be broke. If I decide to fall on them, they will be crushed into powder. He teaching it to the brothers coming out of the womb. That's why you ain't have bus stop bishops. You ain't have people who are so open to oppose the messenger of God. That's the message. Brothers from San Quentin ain't afraid of no police. The messenger said, whoever falls on that stone will be broken. Whoever that stone falls on will be ground into dust. Police couldn't save Malcolm. Malcolm talked about on that same day. He came to Chicago. He said brothers was waiting on him when he left the radio station. Because the message say, do what you want to do. I teach you, do what you want to do. That was the message. We got to get it up close and personal.
Yes, sir.
Because we say with our mouth, I want to be the nation to rebuild and work of the message. You got to know the work of the message. What did the messenger say? He told us, say what you hear me say.
Yes.
He didn't didn't say for us to follow him. He said, say what you hear me say.
Yes, sir.
Well, brothers and sisters, we don't want to prolong the time. So I leave you as I came in the nation of Islam's greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Enjoying the show? Help keep us on the air. 313-371-7033. That's 313-371-7033 to make a donation.
Brothers and sisters, we rise for prayer. In the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful. All praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the beneficent, the merciful. Sole masters their judgment in which we now live. The alone do we serve, and the alone seek for thine help and aid. O Allah, please guide us on the right path. Path of those upon whom thou hast for thy favors. Not on the path of those upon whom thy wrath is brought down. Nor those who go astray after they heard thy teachings. Say he, Allah is one God. Allah is he of whom nothing is independent, but upon whom we all depend. He begetteth not, nor is he begotten, there is none like him. And I bear witness that none is earth to be served, worship or praise besides Allah, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. And I bear witness that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is thy true servant and last apostle. Ameen. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us not to do anything to anyone. If we wouldn't have done it to ourselves and treat everybody right, even the devil. Assalamu alaikum.